guys, today I will be sharing how to make popsicle cake pop with red velvet cake and cream cheese icing. We need 2 teaspoons of vanilla, gel food coloring. I use tulip red. I use about a teaspoon. If you don't have gel food coloring, you can use liquid food coloring. 1 teaspoon of vinegar, 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 eggs, 3/4 cups of butter, 1.5 cups of cake flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1.5 tablespoon of cocoa powder. I use Dutch process. This is buttermilk, 3/4 cup. If you don't have buttermilk, you can use 3/4 cup of fresh milk, then add 3/4 tablespoon of white vinegar. To begin, combine the cake flour and the cocoa powder. Give it a mix. Set this aside. We will sift this later. In a separate bowl, we're going to beat the butter. I'm doing the process quickly because I've done this recipe a lot of times. In with the butter goes the sugar. Give this a mix until it is well combined. Now add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now please continue mixing. At this point, add the eggs one at a time, mixing in each addition. Now, there's a little bit of change in here. I'm adding all the buttermilk in one addition. Normally, you would do an alternate method, but I figured since I'm gonna crumble this, it's easier to do this way. So I add the buttermilk and mix it. At this point, the mixture turns weird because I flooded the butter. Now I'm sifting the cake flour cocoa powder mixture. Use the spatula first to mix this, and then use the electric mixer to finish mixing. At this point, the mixture looks weird, but once you use the electric mixer, this will go smooth or turn smooth. Here, I'm mixing this a little bit, and then before it fully mix, I will add the gel food coloring so we don't over mix the batter. So here, add the gel food coloring as little or as much as you like. So that's about a teaspoon. So as you can see, the butter is now smooth. Now use a spatula to scrape the side of the bowl. Now for the final touch, combine the vinegar and the baking soda. Give it a quick mix and then immediately add this to the cake batter. Then transfer this into a prepared pan. I have a 10 by 3 inches cake pan, and I will bake this in a preheated oven at 175 to 180 degrees Celsius for about 30 to 35 minutes, or until when you insert the skewer and the skewer comes out clean. Before baking, make sure that it is level and give it a light tap. And this is what it looks like after baking. Now set this aside to cool down completely while we move on to the cream cheese icing. For the cream cheese icing, I only use half of the recipe. So that's 1/4 cup of room temperature butter, 125 grams of cream cheese, 1.5 cups of icing sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So the process is really easy. In a bowl, combine the butter and the cream cheese icing. Make sure that the 2 ingredients is at room temperature so it's easier to mix. Once the ingredients is well combined, add a teaspoon of vanilla. Scrape down the side of the bowl. Then add the icing sugar into additions. Once the sugar is absorbed by the cream cheese, add the remaining icing sugar. Continue mixing until everything is well combined. And this is now ready. So here, I'm going to crumble the red velvet cake. I'm not going to use all of it. I have some extra. Crumble the cake. And then add the cream cheese. Cheese icing, there's no exact measurements of how much you need. You have to eyeball this and you have to feel the consistency. It is important that the cake is not too wet. As soon as it forms a dough, then it's ready. So we're going to place this in the fridge to cool down and harden up a little bit. Meanwhile, melt white chocolate. Use the microwave to do this process, or you can use a double boiler. Once the white chocolate is melted, I use electric green food coloring, about 2 drops. And then, by the way, I'm using a silicone mold. This one, you can get this on eBay or AliExpress. Then add a decent amount of the white chocolate into the mold. Then make sure to spread the white chocolate into the side of the mold. Make sure to add a decent amount of chocolate because we don't want the chocolate to crack while we're taking out the cake popsicles. So here I will insert the popsicle stick, not all the way through, just to make sure that the chocolate doesn't close the hole. So continue doing this until you finish up with all the silicone molds. Place this in the fridge for about 5 to 7 minutes or until the chocolate hardens. So after about 7 minutes in the fridge, I take out the mold and then I'm going to reinforce the side of the chocolate. So I'm using a popsicle sticks in here and then add a little bit more of the chocolate melts on the side just to make sure that it doesn't crack. This will harden straight away because the mold is cold. But just to make sure, I'm going to place this back in the fridge for 2 minutes. So now we're ready to put the cake into the molds. So get about 23 grams of the cake. Roll it into oval shape and then press this against the mold. Make sure that you don't overfill the mold so you have the connecting lines between the chocolate, because we're gonna put chocolate on top of this. Now insert the popsicle stick. Excuse the mess on the background. This is my third batch, and after inserting the popsicle stick, we're going to return this back in the fridge for about 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, I put the melted chocolate into a piping bag just to have a little bit of control. Now cover each popsicle cake pop with melted chocolate. This will harden quite fast because the cake pop is cold. But if you want, you can put this back in the fridge to set completely, about 2 to 3 minutes. Now we're ready to unmold our popsicle cake pop. It's easy to take this out of the mold. To clean the edges, use a sharp knife. To attach the decoration, I'm using melted chocolate. Now this royal icing decoration is store-bought. You can decorate the cake popsicles any way you like. You can use fondant as well. So I'm using Christmas themes because Christmas is coming soon. And just to show you what it looks like inside when you bite into the popsicle cake pop. This is really good. So I hope you give this a try. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!